Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and we are playing a league best of 3 here with my Sabine yellow this time against a Boba yellow. Both of us using 30 HP bases, so that means my opponent is probably teched at least somewhat against aggro. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. Let's see here. So looking at my opening hand, I think I think I'm going to keep this. The problem is I don't have a really clear game plan for next turn. Okay, so we could resource Spec Force Soldier, and if we resource Spec Force Soldier and Alliance X-Wing, yeah, the problem is there's not a super clear next turn, but I think we can try this and just think we're gonna draw something relevant and see where we go from there. So Alliance or Green Squadron A-Wing hits the field, 2 cost 1/3 with raid 2. Opponent leads off with the Cartel Spacer, 2 cost 2/3 when played if you control another cunning unit, exhaust an enemy at the cost 4 or less. I'm going to take the initiative here as I want to pick that unit off before he can potentially get me with an open fire. I think we're probably looking for a longer game, and I can't necessarily afford to be pure aggro here. Oh, that is a... I think we have to resource this medal ceremony because the K2s are really valuable in this situation. Okay, I'll lead us off by taking the kill there. Not what you normally do with Sabine, but I want to get that off the field. I think it's going to be a longer game um, based on the 30 HP base, and my opponent being cunning means that there are various tricks that he could use to answer my A-Wing, so snapshot reflexes and shoot first being the big ones. He ends up having an ISB agent though. Yeah, so he reveals a shoot first, so he would have been able to kill that if I hadn't cleared him while keeping his ship alive. As it stands, he ends up having to use an ISB agent, does have that shoot first in hand, so I'm not going to deploy this Leia Defiant Princess because she'll just be defeated by the ISB agent. I will play Sabine Wren Explosives Artist, 2 cost 2/3. Well, there are at least 3 aspects among other friendly units. This unit can't be attacked unless she gains Sentinel. On attack, may deal 1 damage to the defender or to a base. Opponent plays Boba Fett the unit here. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's time to just take the initiative. Draw 1, draw 2. Okay, so this turn I could go for Leia Organa Defiant Princess. I could use this Bamboozle. Hmm, I'm not loving this. I think I'm going to resource the Bamboozle, keep the Leia potential exhaust effect. Lead off with Sabine, Sabine Explosives Artist into the base. She, of course, is kind of in a spot where she can easily be cleared by Boba here. But that's sort of one of those things that just can just happen. And okay, so my opponent does go for that, so that means that he's not going to have Boba to clear Sabine Explosives Artist. I'll use Sabine's ability here, do some damage, and kind of make my opponent show his plays some more. Goes for an ISB agent. We'll go ahead and deploy Sabine. Good chance she just gets exhausted here, so a no good to me dead. Yeah, that's right. No good to me dead indeed comes out, exhausting her for 2 rounds. We're gonna throw out K2SO. 4/4 overwhelm. When defeated for each opponent, choose one. Either deal 3 damage to that player's base, or that player discards a card from their hand. Opponent gonna take the initiative. Okay, so that's gonna set him up to have Boba kill. That's gonna set him up to have Boba kill Sabine. That's unfortunate, but I can't really avoid it. And we're going to probably use Leia to exhaust leader Boba here and play Leia to exhaust leader Boba here, play Fighters for Freedom or for a Cause. If he kills K2, I guess I can deploy another K2. Um, let's see how this goes. Playing something big here. 5 cost Bosk. Okay. So Bosk killing K2. So then yeah, this is not going well. Let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna go for the um Yeah, we're gonna go for the discard. So I could just do damage with this, but I'm behind enough on this start. Mhm. My opponent does a random discard, but it's actually a chosen discard. Okay, so it ends up wanting to discard the card that got discarded either way. So now we're going to use Leia, Defiant Princess, exhaust Boba, so he can't just kill Sabine easily this turn. Um, Opponent deploys small Boba. We are then going to, let's see here. Yeah, I'm thinking about what to play here. So it could be K2, could be Fighters for Freedom, could be sorry, sorry, it can't be K2, he costs too much. So it could be Fighters for Freedom, could be for a cause. So for a cause is direct damage. We're gonna play the Fighters for Freedom here, just give him another target. Might still have that shoot first in hand, in which case he can clear Sabine, but that's can't really be helped. Okay, gonna go for just goes for the normal attack. Okay, he'll finish Sabine with the ISB agent. That's fine. I will take the initiative here. ISB agent takes out Sabine. That's okay. I think in that situation it would have been more advantageous for my opponent to go for the Fighters for Freedom. In general, taking out Sabine is actually the least priority of any unit that the well, let me think about that. Nah, Leia's lower priority than Sabine because she's only 2 damage. But in general, taking out Sabine is actually really low priority. So the thing about defeating Sabine is that it gives them the Sabine leader back to deal damage to your base again. So clearing their other units is often a more effective strategy than clearing Sabine the leader. And then we're gonna see another no good to me dead. Okay. So that's gonna exhaust Fighters for Freedom and deal 2 damage with Bosk to clear out Leia. Okay. So obviously the opponent is currently at a substantial advantage, but we're going to see if we can come back and get the win. Unfortunately, drawing cards that don't do anything here. Opponent keeps resourcing. That's a sign that he may have the Fet's fire spray here. Okay, so we're going to go for a cause. This is going to deal bonus damage here. So that's going to deal one, two. Okay, so we got one, two, three, four, yeah, so five damage goes in, and then let's think about this. I think we want to keep, what do we want to keep on top of the deck? So yeah, so what do we want to keep here? So we want to keep probably Leia, Defiant Princess, and then the Falcon. Yeah, I think that's right. So we'll discard those two. Leia and the Falcon are going to stay on top. And so that did a nice chunk of damage. Opponent will probably want to clear the Fighters for Freedom at some point. I don't know if I want to play this Lothal Insurgent. I think I do. This is going to make my opponent draw one and then discard at random. So if I do end up sniping the presumptive Fet's Fire Spray, that's super high value for me. Fet's Fire Spray and the discard, love it. That is the type of thing that I want. So this Lothal Insurgent, when played, if you played another card this phase, each opponent draws a card, then discards a random card from their hand. So in that case, might have sniped out a crucial card for my opponent. Opponent may be thinking here. Okay, so using Boba Fett to take out the Fighters for Freedom. Unfortunately, my opponent's getting huge value from Boba Disintegrator here. Really not what I want to see. Use Sabine, 1 damage to each base. Boba there swings for the base. I'll take the initiative. I'm kind of confused because my opponent's sort of mixing what's going on here. Maybe there's an event that's going to clear that guy out with Bosk. Maybe that's what we're looking at here. No, it's just Greedo. Okay, so my opponent has a very strong board here. I have some potential answers. So I know I'm going to get the Falcon and Leia here. Um, so let's see what we're doing. So this turn, I can exhaust somebody with Leia. My opponent has a ton of damage on board though, and I need to remove it. So what we're going to do is first up, we're going to have Lothal Insurgent take out Bosk. Can't leave Bosk on the board. I don't have my opponent's board is just way too strong. I'm not going to be able to push through that without like just in a direct situation. I'm just way too far behind based on the value that my opponent's been getting from that stalling and blocking stuff with Boba. We're going to use Leia, Defiant Princess, exhaust Big Boba. Opponent has opponent does have some stuff here. Oh, brutal, brutal, brutal. That is one of the worst things I could see. My opponent has drawn another copy of Fet's Fire Spray. That's probably game over right there. I don't think I have a way out of that. Hitting that first one was good, but even still, I felt like I was at a disadvantage. So seeing another one is probably game over. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play the Falcon. If the opponent is smart, he'll just go for the base. He has a ton of damage to base at this point. If he clears out the Falcon instead, it buys me a little bit more time, but I honestly don't see, yeah, and he's playing it smart, so that's going to be damage to base. I'm going to take the initiative, but it's basically over at this point. I'm not going to be able to get enough damage through. Um, yeah, opponent keeps focusing on the base here. Yes, this game's essentially over at this point, but we're gonna see what we can make happen. So drawing a red three and a Sabine, neither of those are cards that save me at all. So what I can do now is I can no, it's all kinds of over. There's just nothing I can do. Let's move on to round two. So that was a tough one. Opponent got control pretty early. And even though I was able to discard one Fet's Fire Spray, another one ended up getting pulled there. And that put things in a pretty untenable position. So now we're going to go ahead though and see what we can do in the next round here. So we do have a sideboard. So let's see. Yeah, I do want to include. We'll think about some of this stuff. So metal ceremony, unlikely to get value and not blocking something relevant here. So we're gonna bring in the shoot firsts, and we're gonna bring in these open fires, I think. We got to replace. Yeah, I think Bamboozle is not a good card in this matchup. This is reducing my odds on, wait, what happened? Okay. Yeah, this is reducing my odds. So I am mitigating my for a cause I believe in here, but I am giving myself some more options to try and control some of those units if my opponent is in an aggressive position. Let's see what we can do round two. Draw up and see what ooh, so that would be a Lothal Insurgent start. We don't have a shoot first. We do have some nice, so we would probably resource the Heroic Sacrifice and Fighters for Freedom turn one, play Lothal Insurgent. Lothal Insurgent just gets taken out by too much stuff. We have to mulligan that. There are a lot of really unfavorable starts there. Ooh, nasty. We mulliganed into no turn one or two unit in a deck that's full of them. Oh man, that is a bad spot to be in. So I have, yeah, that is nasty. Deck has I think 18 turn one plays, and we blanked out. So that's a super negative development. So we got to think about how we'll resource here. We're gonna try and just push damage to base, I think, but I don't know if it's gonna work out with no starting units really tough for this. Okay, so we'll lead off, use Sabine, one damage to each base. Greedo start from my opponent, so very aggressive start versus no starting play. Not what you want to see. All right, well, the game is, that's a tough break, but it's not over. Let's see what we can do with it. So this Green Squadron A-Wing is a reasonable call. We may want to go for multiple falcons this game. I think there's a good chance my opponent will have at least something to deal with one falcon. Um, Next turn I'll have 4 resources, but it'll be -1 because of the falcon. Okay, we're going to resource the A-wing there. We're going to just go straight for falcon to base. So there's the first falcon being played here. Good chance my opponent will have some kind of removal or a unit in space or something to deal with this. But at least for now, we're going to just try and use that to push damage to the base as fast as possible. Use Sabine, use stuff like that. So it ends up being a cartel spacer, which exhausts the Falcon. Negative situation for me. Opponent had a quick response. I'll use Sabine, 1 damage to each base. 3 to my base from Greedo. Really not where I want to be. I will take the initiative. One good thing about the Falcon is that because it is a higher toughness unit, it is not vulnerable to just getting it is not vulnerable to just getting uh, killed by shoot first, like the smaller ship I played in the earlier game was. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the Falcon on the board here, um, and try and just push some damage through. I could play this red 3, but red 3 is vulnerable to shoot first, so I don't really want to do that if I can avoid it. I'm probably going to go for Fleet Lieutenant on to buff Sabine here. So we're going to lead off. Falcon swings into the base for 3. Hmm. Opponent goes into the base here. Might be trying to race. Racing against Sabine is usually wrong, but I had a really slow start, and yellow Boba has some good like tempo and aggression tricks, so might honestly be able to do it. Ooh, he's rolling the dice. Greedo swings into Sabine, so if he top decks a event, he can kill Sabine, but he doesn't. So I'm happy to see that development. So Greedo there, when defeated, you may discard a card from your deck. If it's not a unit, deal 2 damage to your ground unit. So if he had hit that top deck, he would have actually killed Sabine. He missed it though, and I'm very fond of that. I will now Fleet Lieutenant Sabine into the base for 5 total. Okay, so that's gonna buy me some time, hopefully, but we will see. We will see whether it's enough. I still feel like I would rather have done more damage by this point in the game, but sometimes sometimes you can't always get what you want. Having the no turn 1 play plus the Falcon exhausted on the turn that I played it is not what I most want to see. We see a Boba Disintegrator hitting the field. That's going to be, yeah, that's, it is what it is. I will take the initiative at this phase. Opponent opponent in a, let's see here. I'm in a slightly odd spot. I do have to pay for the Falcon, so we're going to do pay for the Falcon. So let's see here. Boba Disintegrator can defeat either of my ground units. So what we're going to do, so one thing that I could actually do is I could Fleet Lieutenant, yeah, I could Fleet Lieutenant into the base. I want my opponent to defeat Sabine rather than the, I want my opponent to defeat Sabine rather than the other, rather than the Fleet Lieutenant if possible, but he's actually going to be able to deploy both of them because he deploys Boba this turn and I don't have any exhaust effects. I could heroic sacrifice Sabine, but that would not get that much value because my opponent can still make an attack, but it might be worth it. I could heroic sacrifice my Falcon and play another Falcon. I think it makes more sense to play another Fleet Lieutenant. So we're gonna do Fleet Lieutenant into the base for 5. So I could have used this to trade with Boba Disintegrator, but what I would rather do in this scenario is push more damage to base. So Boba Fett Disintegrator could kill the Fleet Lieutenant that I just used without taking any damage, but that would mean that he was not responding to Sabine. Now, of course, my opponent might have an exhaust effect or similar for Sabine, but make him play those cards. Okay, so it ends up having an exhaust effect for the Falcon. I mean, it could be worse. So the question now is whether I use Heroic Sacrifice for bonus damage from Sabine and a card draw. I think the answer is no. It's just going to be a normal attack, 3 damage in from Sabine. Um, so I'm getting my opponent low. There's only 12 life remaining. I do still have Noble Sacrifice, Surprise Strike, and the Falcon. But I'm also starting to come more under control. I think my opponent gets to kill at least 2 of my ground units this turn. and maybe even the Falcon as well, depending on what's in hand. So Fleet Lieutenant gets removed, no damage on Boba. That was the one that was already played. Opponent gets a resource back. Going to be able to deploy Boba the leader, take out another one of my ground units, get more resources back, and depending on what's in hand, could maybe even kill the Falcon as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. It's certainly looking up from my slow start. Like I have managed to get a good amount of damage to base, but with my opponent on the 30 HP base, and me not having like super clear reach stuff aside from some of these little events here, I'm not altogether sure if I'm gonna make it. It's interesting though. We'll have to see how this goes. Definitely it's sort of weird. It actually feels like a closer game than the first one, even though I had a really bad start this time. Oh, whoops, I forgot it's my turn. I will take the initiative. Well, that could be some psychological warfare, maybe my opponent thinks I have a one cost unit now. That was totally a blunder though. I was just waiting on my opponent to do stuff and didn't realize I had not taken the initiative myself. Okay, that could be a lot. That could be a lot worse. We see a seventh fleet defender, 3 cost 3/2 with shielded. The good thing about this is it's going to take another attack for it to actually kill the Falcon. I hope now. So he's going to clear one of my units. Ends up clearing Sabine. I think that's a bit of a mistake. With Sabine clear, I now have access to my leader ability. It's actually higher priority to clear the fleet lieutenant here. And then this guy going for the base instead of going for my Falcon. Wonder if he has some removal. Ends up playing a pirated starfighter, so has to return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand. Oh, that's cute. He's going to use that to return one of his cartel spacers, and then he has another exhaust effect waiting for me. That's kind of cool. Okay, so looks like that's going to be it for the turn. So now I have two units. Whatever unit I don't go in with probably gets exhausted. I have these. Okay, so I have these surprise strikes. I also have a noble sacrifice. I probably keep resourcing at this phase, so we're probably going to resource this red three, who can immediately be killed if I send him in the space arena. That's going to leave me with 5 resources here. So what I probably want to do is deploy the Falcon yeah, deploy my second Falcon after doing a surprise strike, I think. Um, Another option would be to use, if my opponent doesn't start pushing on the Falcon that I have here, I can use, I could use well, let's see. So he can kill my Fleet Lieutenant much more easily. So we're actually going to, if we attack with the Fleet Lieutenant first, he doesn't necessarily have a way to kill the Falcon in one shot. So I can do surprise strike with Fleet Lieutenant, 6 damage to base, and then if I get, yeah, then I'm getting really close to actually closing the game. I could also use the heroic sacrifice plausibly. Let's see here. So if I surprise strike with my Falcon, if I surprise strike with my Falcon, my opponent can kill the Fleet Lieutenant straightforwardly. It makes him not. So if I surprise strike with the Fleet Lieutenant, he might have to play his exhaust effect. So we're going to do surprise strike on the base with the Fleet Lieutenant. So that's going to be 6 damage to base. Opponent now getting into the lethal zone. So at this point, if I get another attack, I probably win the game. Um, yeah, so we're going to see the exhaust effect used immediately on that Falcon. So let's see here. My opponent is showing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So my opponent is showing 15 damage, which is not lethal in this situation. Um, I am going to Yeah, I'm gonna slow roll this. We're gonna use Sabine, 1 damage to each base. Um, my opponent does not have lethal damage, but has a fair amount. Does have a fair amount of damage, and also has cards left to play. So we're gonna do this a little slow. And I don't have resources to do a heroic sacrifice if I replay the Falcon that I have in hand. So for that reason, I'm playing this a little slow, and my plan is going to be to use Leia Organa to exhaust some of my opponent's stuff. So it looks like he is going for base instead of trying to kill my Falcon, or if he does kill the Falcon, it's going to be with different units. Um, okay, so yeah, I can throw a potential wrench in his plan here by, let's see, so he could have, what am I most worried about? So he could have Fett's fire spray. No, wait, he hasn't actually killed one of my units. Oh, but he could get the resources. Yeah, so the thing that I'm I'm in a tough spot in terms of like I have to kind of guess which thing he can throw, which like problem he can throw me here. So if he has Fett's fire spray, if he has a Fett's fire spray in hand, I'm in a bad position unless I exhaust Boba. No, wait, I think I have to exhaust Boba either way. So the other option, so it's exhaust Boba or exhaust his defender. So if I exhaust his defender, he doesn't have power on board to kill my Falcon, but if he has Fett's Fire Spray, he can attack with Boba and get that value. I'm gonna go for exhausting Boba, which is also a maybe safer option in that it now means that he can't do a Bosk or something like that. And it means he has to deal with not only the Falcon, but also both my ground units, or else I just surprise strike the base and win. So Boba Disintegrator can kill one of my units. Um, so Boba Disintegrator can kill the Fleet Lieutenant and not take any damage, and he could then have his other ships kill the Falcon, but Leia can still surprise strike the base to get the win. So I think, but of course he still has four resources and two cards in hand, so we could easily see something that deals with my stuff. So Boba Disintegrator taking out the Fleet Lieutenant. I do not have a play. I'm going to take the initiative. So my opponent has 5 damage to base, which is not close to lethal. Probably needs to use those space units to take down the Falcon. Unless we have some hand that has like multiple things that can get rid of my stuff. We'll see what happens. Ooh, so it's gonna be a surprise strike into the Falcon. Okay, so he surprise strikes the Falcon with his defender. And then he's gonna hit the base for 2. And then what else might he have? No good to me dead to keep Leia exhausted. That's a good play. If he didn't have that, I just win the game off of the surprise strike that I have in hand. With this, he has a chance to win. It's not guaranteed, but if he can I drew another Falcon. That is so lucky. That is a really lucky break for me because now what I can do is resource the X-Wing and I can so in this situation, if my opponent doesn't have something that deals with the first Falcon, I can play a second Falcon. Um, or if my opponent does have something that deals with the first Falcon. So what we're going to do is bring out a Falcon, see if my opponent has an answer. Now, of course, there is a risk that my opponent actually has two answers. If he has two answers to the Falcons here, I think I lose. I think he just has lethal at that point. Oh, wow. Really unlucky break for my opponent. So he goes for Bodhi Rook, which allows him to look at my hand and discard a non-unit card, but I have both the Surprise Strike and the Heroic Sacrifice, and either of those win the game. So this one's actually going to be my win. GG. Okay, so we're going to move on to game 3. All right, game 3. I had a tough start in game 2, but we ended up being able to get the win. My opponent came very close to stabilizing, had a lot of tricks, almost got there, but I had a lucky draw with the multiple Falcon. I guess he didn't have a way to actually kill the Falcon, so he was hoping to snipe out my surprise strike and make it so I couldn't destroy his base, but then because I had that second trick, it was not over. So okay, I made a comeback from a rough start against an anti-aggro deck. I was not expecting that, but I'll take it. And we are on to game 3. Now let's just think about our sideboarding here. So this one is going to decide who will win this match. Do I want any of this stuff back? I think I don't. There's an argument I should be playing this Spark of Rebellion. There is an argument I should be playing that Spark of Rebellion. So the Spark of Rebellion, Spark of Rebellion might be better than the Shoot First. I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think we're going to leave it. Man, that's an interesting question. No, okay, so we're actually going to, I think I think I removed these open fires and returned the Spark of Rebellion. So in retrospect, I don't think open fire is what I really want to be doing in this matchup. The Spark of Rebellions will not only increase my percentages for the watch me get the Spark of Rebellions now though, in which they were open fires. But the Spark of Rebellions increase my percentages for for a cause I believe in, while also allowing me to potentially remove crucial cards like the Fet's Fire Spray. Okay, so it looks like this is probably a Green Squadron A-Wing start. So let's think about this. So I want to keep Surprise Strike. I want to keep the Falcon. I want to keep Green Squadron A-Wing. And the question is whether to keep Leia or the Heroic Sacrifice. Heroic Sacrifice is more just like pure damage to base. So I think we keep that. And I think we resource like this. Arguably, I should try to mulligan this to get a start that's ambiguous between ground and space, but he doesn't have, I think, a natural counter to the A-Wing in space. Okay, so he goes for Greedo. I go for A-Wing. He takes initiative. I use Sabine, and we're going to pass. Okay, so these are some interesting options. So the problem with this, oh, I arguably should have resourced Wing Leader. So the problem with Wing Leader is that this is this deck is a yellow deck. Well, let's see though. Has he sideboarded out Waylay? There is a chance that he's sideboarded out Waylay because it's not really good against my deck. We know he has exhaust effects though. I don't think Wing Leader is where it's at. We're gonna resource that. I think it plays too much into the stuff that he has to counter me. Okay, so we're hoping for no Cartel Spacer here or other thing that can immediately deal with the A-Wing. I want some direct damage there. Resourcing the Wing Leader means that I am less reliant on him not having something like that. We're gonna go for Falcon instead of Wing Leader here. Okay, so he has a Defender. That is fairly annoying, but you know what? It's one of those things that can just happen. A-Wing is going to go for base. So the defender here is well poised to remove my A-Wing. But the plus side is this means that he has no immediate counter. So A-Wing gets 3 damage to base. Greedo gets 3 damage to my base. So we're going to go for Falcon. Millennium Falcon hits the field. Opponent takes initiative, 3 more damage to base. And then Sabine being used for 1 damage to each base. We're trying to just race fast here. And then that's going to be that for the turn. I do have to pay for the Falcon this turn. Okay, so then I have a Leia Defiant Princess. So probably what I want to do is Fleet Lieutenant, either with Sabine. Um, Opponent has the initiative, so I can't use Leia Defiant Princess to exhaust the defender before it gets to attack. I could Surprise Strike with the Falcon. I could Heroic Sacrifice with something. It's kind of an awkward hand. I think we get rid of the Spark of Rebellion here, spend a resource for the Falcon. So I think if my opponent takes out my Falcon immediately with a shoot first or something, I'll do Fleet Lieutenant on the A-Wing. If my opponent does not, I guess we can also exhaust Greedo with Leia. Okay, so it's an exhaust effect here, exhausts the Falcon. Great. So I'm going to do Fleet Lieutenant A-Wing base for 5. He has a chance to kill Sabine when she deploys, so I'm just taking the guaranteed bonus damage immediately. Defender clears the A-Wing. You know what, A-Wing, you did your job. 8 damage to base off that guy, I'll take it. Sabine for 1 damage to each base. If my opponent, we'll see what they do. You know, we could easily have a No Good To Me Dead. We could easily have a Greedo just going for the trade and maybe killing Sabine immediately. No, not going to be a No Good To Me Dead. Okay, so it's going to be that pirated starfighter bouncing the cartel spacer. That's a good play. This card's best used with those one plate effects. So now we deploy Sabine. So if my opponent goes for Greedo, we have that chance for the top deck here. Let's see if he gets it. He missed it last time. Will he get it this time? He will not. So 3 damage on Sabine. That Greedo top deck is unfortunately pretty unreliable. If he's at 15 events or 15 non units, he has about a 30%. I think it's a 30% chance. So not a reliable not a reliable source of extra damage. But if he had gotten it, it would have been really nice. Would have saved him 3 health on his base. So he takes the initiative. I'm going to pass, and we are going to Okay, we're going to go ahead and resource this wing leader. Once again, that's something that's bad against what my opponent's deck is trying to do. We're going to ready up, pay for the Falcon. I know that my opponent can exhaust one of my units here by using that cartel spacer that he's holding in his hand. So what we're going to try to do is we can, let's see. So a surprise strike here from any of my units will deal 6 damage and take my opponent to 7 remaining life, which is a pretty good spot for me to be in. I also have some other stuff that can mess with him. Looks like he's going for Bosk here, probably. Gonna ambush one of my ground units, take him out. Yep, that's gonna be probably okay, so he takes out the fleet lieutenant. So then this means oh, that's a good play by my opponent. Or so in this situation, if my opponent has a 1 cost event, he gets to kill both Sabine. So if my opponent like has a shoot first in hand right now, he gets to kill both Sabine and the Falcon, which I really dislike, but there's not really much that I can do about it. So I think what we do here is we okay, so I think what I do here is I attack with the Falcon. So if I let's think about this. So basically my options here are so if I attack with the Falcon, my opponent oh no, my opponent doesn't have the resources to use the exhaust guy. Okay, so we're not going to attack with the Falcon. We're going to if I do Fleet Lieutenant on for Sabine, that's 5 damage to base. No, it makes more sense to surprise strike the so if I surprise strike the base with Sabine, it does 6 damage. My opponent will be and then I still have resources to play Leia Defiant Princess and exhaust his yeah. So I'm gonna surprise strike the base with Sabine. This does 6 damage, and I still have the resources to play Leia Defiant Princess and exhaust Boba when he deploys. See, if my opponent was on the 25 HP base, I would be extremely confident right now, but of course he's not. So there's a good chance that we do see, yeah, the shoot first double kill. That's what I was hoping he didn't have. Unfortunately, he did have it, so he gets to kill both of my units there. That's very negative for me. I will. So we're gonna. So let's see here. So we can do. He still gets to deploy Boba. So I think, yeah, I think we have to do. Leia, Defiant Princess, exhaust the Pirated Starfighter, and then he deploys Boba. We're gonna take the initiative, but now I'm in a bad spot, and what I need to do is draw reach cards. So I'm really hoping for a cause I believe in to close out this game. And then okay, so he's gonna take it, play it safe, which is fair because he's very low on life. He has Boba Fett take out. Boba Fett takes out Leia. I have the initiative. He passes. We're gonna draw up, and I really want for a cause. No. Oh, that's bad. I've got to draw into it, I think, in order to win this game because right now I'm in a lot of trouble. Okay, so what we're going to do is if I play this Fleet Lieutenant, I can make him spend some attack on it, and then we can do the Spark of Rebellion. We're going to resource the shoot first, which isn't relevant here. So actually we'll do the Spark of Rebellion first. So we'll do Spark of Rebellion, look at his hand. Let's see what he's got. Okay, so he has Cantina Bouncer, no good to me. So he has really a lot of answers here, which I don't love to see. If we get rid of so okay, how much damage is he representing? So he has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage on the board, not lethal, but he will have lethal probably next turn, which means I think I've lost this one. But I can actually wait, hang on. I can get him to attack the Fleet Lieutenant. I need to remove so let's see. If he uses cunning for bonus damage, then he would go up to yeah, if he uses cunning for bonus damage, then he goes up to 17, still not lethal. So he's not gonna have lethal. We have to remove so the no good to me dead allows him to really easily counter my fleet lieutenant. He could also have the Cantina Bouncer, is which does counter it as well. So the problem is, so he has multiple things that he can use to counter me here. So I think we take the no good to me dead, which is the easy counter. That also is a very strong counter to a Falcon if I pull one. So we're gonna do that, and then we're going to try and play out the Fleet Lieutenant. Hopefully after he does something. I'm hoping to at least make him attack the Fleet Lieutenant. We'll see. So he does 4 damage to base with Bosk. We're going to slow play it here by using Sabine, 1 damage to each base. He sends in 3 damage to my base. Okay, so I think I actually want to... Yeah, no, we're gonna... So one thing I could do here is pass. So if I pass, he attacks with another unit, then I play the Fleet Lieutenant. Doesn't really make sense. No, he has so many answers. I think I'm dead for not drawing Reach, but we're gonna just play the Fleet Lieutenant, see if we can at least get Boba to attack it instead of attacking the base, and buy me a little bit more time. It's a really unfortunate spot to be in right here. So he could also play his Cunning, and get +4 damage plus bounce. It looks like that's what he's gonna go for. Yeah, so Cunning, this is almost certainly +4, +0, and bounce. Could be the random discard also. Could be, yeah, it could be discard and +4, +0. Okay, I lose the noble sacrifice. I'm gonna take the initiative. Surprised he didn't go for the bounce here, but I guess he just clears with Boba. Okay, so then we take 5, 6, 7. Okay, and he does clear with Boba. So we are still alive, but we are in desperate straits, and the game's probably over. Best thing I could do here, so I could draw the main path to victory here is that I draw two cause I believe 4 cause I believe in and close the game. Let's see if we got it. 2 4 cause I believe in or 4 cause I believe in. No, Falcon just gets removed. Nope, drew 0 reach. That's it. GG. Tough one for me. It was looking good at first, but we didn't get the reach cards that we needed to close out the game. And with the opponent on an anti-aggro deck, it's important to hit those reach cards. If my opponent were playing the standard base, I can just win the game here by using Sabine's ability. But without that, we fell a little short. Yeah, so ultimately went against a counter deck here with an anti-aggro double yellow Boba on the 30 HP base. And my opponent was able to get the win, but I thought those were some pretty good games. So yeah, thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.